let me open now the floor for Q&As. Don't hesitate if something is not clear or if you have other questions. We're here to answer them. Thank you. So no questions for now. Maybe I just want to emphasize one point on the robustness ranking. What I showed is really simple. It's really easy. So it doesn't take too much time. It's just refactoring of code, but it makes your payout much more robust to changes in the output, changes in the input, changes of behaviors of functions. So it is very like small changes in terms of code, but it's a big win in terms of ranking and in terms of robustness. So I would encourage everyone to make sure that these are covered and your ranking is going to go up automatically.
Yeah. Actually, I have a question. I would like to know if we'll have access to the function that computes diversification and performance indicator.
Okay. At the moment, what I've showed you is what happens behind the scene. What we do at Alphien to make sure that everything is robust, everything is fulfilling the competition requirements, so that we can show them to the sponsors, and then the sponsor can elect the strategy that fits their needs best. So we don't think that sharing this diversification ranking function is necessary at the moment. However, if we have enough demand, we might open it to users. The best way at the moment is to just submit your portfolio and ask us what the diversification rank is, or if you have already submitted your portfolio, you can ask us to run the diversification ranking function on it, so that we can tell you and give you feedback if it can be improved and how to improve it maybe. But at the moment it is private.
Okay, thank you.
So I'll just leave a few more seconds. If there's no question,
there is a question in the chat, Hervé.
Okay.
From Yuxi.
Yeah.
If we have big and long downtrend on one asset, it is normal not to be in it, so it will penalize our metrics.
No, so not exactly. So that's a good question. Thanks, Greg. It shouldn't penalize your metrics. As I said, it's perfectly normal to decide not to be exposed when you manage to basically find that an asset is turning into a bear regime. So that's totally fine. The drawback of that is that you need to be able to, gain exposure again when the regime changes again. So if, as I said, if you are flat exposure at some point because you think that there is you're in a long only competition, and there is no point in being exposed to any asset that is going down, it's perfectly fine. You're preserving your capital. That is a good behavior to have in a long only strategy. So we definitely encourage this, and this will obviously be reflected in your return ranking, because you're going to get probably better returns and better Sharpe. So that's good. Your ranking on this metric is going to go up, and if you time correctly your regime switch, you're going to enter again into this asset when the bear phase is over. And this is what we want to encourage, is for you to regain access and exposure to this asset as quickly as possible, so that you're not losing out, missing out on the rebound. You're still getting a portfolio that is allocated. So in short, if you avoid big losses, you're not going to get penalized for that. This is a behavior we want to encourage. I think there is another question also. Do you have the exact parameters for us to reproduce the Sharpe in the leaderboard? I have some discrepancies when I try to reproduce. Yes, Kian, thanks for the question. Yes, indeed. Let me share my screen very quickly in the Alphien studio to show you how you can do that from your Alphien studio. Here, I'm going to take, so let's compute the returns. I told you that you have something called get strategy return, strategy returns, which is a function that if you get it a list of building blocks, it's going to return the daily returns of the underlying building blocks. So if I do this, here I'm getting back the returns, okay, and then, which you can omit the first one if you want, and then you can compute. Here we go. And then what you can do is compute the returns, and one function to do that is called return. It's called return for e, and then you pass it on the returns, and then it's going to give you back the annualized returns. Okay, 3 spots 15% for TY, 6 spots 83% for US high yield, and -1% for the banks. This is giving you the return, the annual return bit of the Sharpe ratio, and then you have another function. It's called volatility for E here, which can call on the same series of return. Okay, and now you have the volatility. So you can do one over the other, and then you have your Sharpe ratio. And obviously, here I've just showed you on the list of building blocks, but you can do get strategy returns on your portfolio. That will work also and give you back the underlying the returns of your portfolio by assets. There is another question. Can you repeat the range in which diversification and robustness scores can be? Diversification score is capped at +5, but is there a floor? Same question for robustness score, please. Okay, so that's a good question. Indeed, we have seen in the example, if I go back to it, if I find it back here in the Alphien studio, well, pretty much what I've done is to give you the worst case, where your diversification is absolutely non-existent. And here is my first portfolio. Here I'm allocating everything throughout the life of the backtest to one single asset. This is the worst you can do in terms of diversification. So we've seen that for this portfolio, the diversification rank was -1.66. And here I have done some sort of allocation, and my diversity score was 3.33. And as I said, the maximum diversification on this metric you can have is 5. So I would say that the range where you can have your portfolio is between -1.66 and 5. And then, as we said on the leaderboard, it's a ranking. So everything is relative to another participant. Yeah. So rather than the absolute score, what is important is your score versus other payouts. But indeed, you're right, Francois. You need to get as high as possible and the closest to 5 as possible in order to get a good ranking there. The same question for the robustness score here. Again, robustness score, I haven't showed the function which we use to compute the robustness score, but this is pretty much the same idea behind the scene, is that the robustness score is a relative score. It means that the absolute number is not really a goal in itself, but you need to have a better score than other participants, basically, so that you show your robustness. To give you a hint, we are running your strategy in a set of synthetic and correlated data to make sure that if we have extreme cases in this data, your payout doesn't break down. That's really the core principle of it. Making sure that when we replicate, if your strategy is winning the competition, and there will be live replication, so the asset manager will implement this in real life, it is going to handle all possible cases. There is another question from Kyung. Is it possible to show the scores for the two indicators in the leaderboard? As you have already submitted, you can also have access to the private leaderboard, where you will see the ranks on the private data set. That's going to give you a good indication of your ranking in terms of performance, diversification, and robustness, outside from the data from the backtest. That should give you a good benchmark, basically, and then try to build up on top of this. I take that's okay.
There is a follow-up question, Hervé, in the chat.
I cannot see that.
Tian says she's talking about the score and not the ranking.
The score. Okay,
for the two indicators.
So the absolute level. Well, I think that's always possible, but you know, a ranking is in a way a score that is scaled between some bounds. So that should be fairly equivalent. But if that helps, we can discuss that, Kyung, and see what we can do for you. Okay, I think it's been almost an hour, so we'll probably wrap it up now. Again, thanks everyone for participating. Very sorry about the few technical issues, especially about not being able to share my whole screen, but only one window at a time. So we'll try to fix that for next time. And again, thanks for your participation and your questions, and best of luck for the rest of the competition. There is still 10 days, a bit less than 10 days to go, so still time to have at least one or two new versions of a payout to submit and to make your rankings higher, with a few tips that hopefully I have been able to convey today to you. And we are also very pleased to answer questions on the forum or on the Alpha chat. Don't hesitate to contact us. Thanks everyone. Have a good day.